The world of coin collecting is filled with tiny treasures hiding enormous stories, and sometimes a coin worth just 10 cents can shock collectors with values that climb into the thousands. Today we're diving into 3 Roosevelt dimes that every serious numismatist keeps an eye on. These coins might look ordinary at first glance, but behind their small silver and copper surfaces lie fascinating histories, minting surprises, and collector demand that can turn pocket change into a remarkable discovery. From post-war America to modern minting anomalies, these Roosevelt dimes reveal how subtle details, rare conditions, and unusual errors can transform a common coin into a prized collectible. If you've ever wondered whether a simple dime could hold extraordinary value, stay with me, because these 3 Roosevelt dimes have stories that every collector should know. The 1957 Roosevelt 1-dime coin. The Roosevelt dime series began in 1946 as a tribute to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who had passed away the previous year. Roosevelt's leadership during the Great Depression and World War II left a lasting mark on American history, and his strong association with the March of Dimes campaign made the dime the perfect denomination to honor his legacy. By 1957, the Roosevelt dime had already been in circulation for over a decade, and the United States was experiencing a period of economic growth and technological optimism during the post-war era. The 1957 Roosevelt dime represents a snapshot of that prosperous time, when the U.S. Mint was producing millions of coins to support a booming economy. The design of the 1957 Roosevelt dime follows the classic layout created by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the United States Mint. On the obverse, Roosevelt's portrait faces left, rendered with a dignified realism that reflects mid-20th century engraving style. Above the portrait appears the word liberty, while the national motto "I in God we trust" is placed below the chin. The date 1957 sits to the right of the portrait. Sinek's initials, JS, appear subtly at the base of Roosevelt's neck, a detail that once sparked controversy when some mistakenly believed the initials stood for Joseph Stalin during the early Cold War years. The reverse design features a striking combination of symbols representing freedom, strength, and peace. At the center stands a vertical torch, symbolizing liberty and enlightenment. To the left is an olive branch representing peace, while an oak branch on the right symbolizes strength and independence. Encircling these elements are the inscriptions "United States of America" and "1 dime", along with the Latin motto "E pluribus unum". The 1957 Roosevelt dime was struck primarily in silver, composed of 90% silver and 10% copper. This composition had been standard for U.S. dimes for decades and remained in place until 1965, when rising silver prices forced the U.S. government to transition to clad coinage. Because of its silver content alone, every 1957 dime already carries intrinsic value beyond its face value. In terms of mintage, the Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 46.5 million 1957 dimes, while the Denver Mint struck an even larger quantity of roughly 136.8 million coins bearing the D Mint mark. Although these numbers might seem high, collectors know that true rarity often comes from condition, specific varieties, and striking quality rather than simply low mintage figures. One of the most important aspects of collecting the 1957 Roosevelt dime is the full bands designation. On the reverse torch, there are horizontal bands that wrap around the torch near the center. When these bands are sharply defined and completely separated, the coin may receive a full bands classification from grading services. This detail indicates an exceptionally strong strike and careful minting. Because many Roosevelt dimes from the 1950s show weak strikes in this area, examples with crisp full bands are highly sought after by collectors. High-grade examples of the 1957 Roosevelt dime can command impressive prices at auction. While circulated coins typically sell for only a few dollars due to their silver content, uncirculated examples graded at the highest levels can reach far higher values. Coins graded MS-67 or above with full bands have sold for hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars, depending on eye appeal and certification. Errors also play a role in the collectability of the 1957 Roosevelt dime. Some collectors search for off-center strikes, die cracks, and double die varieties. A double die occurs when the coin's design elements appear slightly doubled due to misalignment during the die creation process. These varieties can be subtle, often appearing in the lettering or date, but they significantly increase collector interest. Another type of error occasionally found on 1957 dimes is a clipped planchet, where a portion of the coin's edge appears missing due to the blank being improperly cut from the metal strip before striking. Such coins are visually distinctive and can bring strong premiums in the numismatic marketplace. Collectors also value original luster when evaluating 1957 dimes. A coin that has never been circulated often retains a brilliant shine known as mint luster, which results from microscopic flow lines created during the striking process. Over time, handling and wear diminish this effect, making fully lustrous coins particularly desirable. Today, the 1957 Roosevelt dime remains a popular coin among collectors who appreciate the early years of the Roosevelt series. It offers an accessible entry point into silver coin collecting while still providing opportunities to discover high-grade rarities or intriguing mint errors. For many numismatists, the thrill lies in searching through rolls or collections hoping to find a perfectly struck full bands example hiding among ordinary coins. The 1982 P. Roosevelt 1 dime coin. By the early 1980s, the United States Mint had undergone major changes compared to the era when silver dimes were produced. Since 1965, Roosevelt dimes had been struck using a clad composition consisting of outer layers of copper-nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This transition dramatically reduced the intrinsic value of circulating dimes, but allowed the mint to continue producing coins without being affected by fluctuations in precious metal prices. The 1982 P. Roosevelt dime might appear to be an ordinary modern coin at first glance, but it holds one of the most intriguing minting anomalies in the entire Roosevelt dime series. That anomaly revolves around a surprisingly simple detail: the absence of the mint mark. To understand why this matters, it's important to know that beginning in 1980, the Philadelphia Mint started placing its P Mint mark on dimes for the first time in history. Prior to that, coins struck in Philadelphia typically carried no mint mark at all. When the Mint changed this tradition, collectors quickly became accustomed to seeing the small p located just above the date on the obverse of the dime. However, in 1982, a small number of dimes were accidentally struck without the P Mint mark due to a die preparation oversight. These coins are now famously known as the 1982 No P Roosevelt dime. The discovery of this error created excitement throughout the numismatic community because it was the first time a circulating U.S. coin since the 1970s had been released without its intended mint mark. Since mint marks are crucial identifiers for collectors, their absence immediately transforms an otherwise ordinary coin into a highly collectible variety. The design of the 1982 Roosevelt dime remains identical to earlier issues. Roosevelt's portrait dominates the obverse, with Liberty along the left edge and I in God We Trust beneath the neck. On normal coins, the small p mint mark appears just above the date. On the error coins, however, that letter is completely missing, creating the rare variety. On the reverse, the familiar torch, olive branch, and oak branch continue to symbolize liberty, peace, and strength. The inscriptions United States of America and 1 dime frame the design. Mintage figures for standard 1982 P dimes exceed 500 million coins, making them extremely common. Yet the no P variety is astonishingly rare by comparison. Experts estimate that only several thousand examples were produced before the error was noticed and corrected. Because of their rarity, the 1982 No P Roosevelt dimes have become one of the most famous modern mint errors. Even coins found in circulated condition can sell for hundreds of dollars, while well-preserved examples bring far higher prices. In uncirculated grades, values climb dramatically. Coins graded MS-65 or higher can sell for several $1,000s, depending on condition and demand. Some pristine examples have crossed the auction block for well over $10,000. Proving that even a modern clad coin can reach extraordinary value when rarity and collector demand align. The popularity of the 1982 No P dime also stems from the fact that it was discovered in circulation. Many collectors still search through rolls of dimes hoping to uncover one of these elusive coins. The idea that such a valuable error could theoretically appear in everyday change continues to captivate numismatists. In addition to the missing mint mark variety, Collectors also watch for other minting errors on 1982 dimes, including off-center strikes, broad strikes, and die cracks. While these errors are not as famous as the no-P variety, they still attract interest and can command respectable premiums. Another factor influencing the value of 1982 dimes is condition. Because these coins circulated widely, finding a truly pristine example with strong luster and minimal contact marks can be surprisingly difficult. Coins that survive in gem condition are therefore prized among collectors assembling high-grade Roosevelt dime sets. The 1982 P-No-P dime stands today as one of the most recognizable modern mint errors in American numismatics. It reminds collectors that even in an era of advanced minting technology, small oversights can create legendary coins that captivate generations of hobbyists. The 1987 D. Roosevelt 1 dime coin. The 1987 D. Roosevelt dime represents another fascinating chapter in the history of the Roosevelt series, particularly because of its unusual distribution story and the way it entered the collecting world. By the late 1980s, the United States Mint had begun experimenting with new marketing strategies to increase collector engagement. One of these strategies involved encouraging collectors to purchase official mint sets rather than relying solely on circulation finds. In 1987, the Denver Mint produced approximately 3.8 million dimes bearing the D Mint mark. While that number may sound significant, it is dramatically lower than typical Roosevelt dime mintages from the era, which often exceeded hundreds of millions. What makes the 1987 D dime particularly interesting is that the mint chose not to release these coins into general circulation. Instead, they were sold exclusively as part of official mint sets. As a result, most examples remained preserved in collector packaging rather than being spent in everyday transactions. Because of this distribution method, collectors who wanted a 1987 D dime had to purchase a mint set directly from the U.S. Mint. This decision effectively limited the number of coins available on the open market and increased their desirability among those assembling complete Roosevelt dime collections. The design of the 1987 D dime follows the standard Roosevelt motif that had been used for decades. Roosevelt's portrait remains on the obverse, accompanied by Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 1987. The small D mint mark sits just above the date, indicating production at the Denver Mint. The reverse design continues the familiar arrangement of the torch, olive branch, and oak branch. Even though the design remained unchanged, collectors still pay close attention to strike quality, surface preservation, and overall eye appeal when evaluating these coins. Because most 1987 D dimes were preserved in mint sets, they are often found in uncirculated condition. However, achieving the highest grading levels remains challenging. Coins graded MS67 or higher are quite scarce, and examples with exceptional luster and minimal contact marks can command strong premiums. Market values for the 1987 D dime vary widely depending on grade. A typical uncirculated example may sell for only a few dollars, but coins graded at the top of the population reports can reach several $100s or more. Collectors also search for full bands examples within the 1987 D series. As with earlier Roosevelt dimes, the sharpness of the horizontal bands on the torch plays a crucial role in determining the coin's desirability. A perfectly struck full bands coin with outstanding luster represents the pinnacle of quality for this issue. Although the 1987 D dime is not known for major error varieties like the famous 1982 no-P dime, minor errors such as die cracks, off-center strikes, and clipped planchets occasionally appear. These pieces add additional excitement for collectors who enjoy searching for unusual minting anomalies. Another interesting aspect of the 1987 D dime is its role in completing Roosevelt dime collections. Because the coin was not released into circulation, collectors assembling sets from pocket change would eventually reach a gap when trying to fill the 1987 D slot. This encouraged many hobbyists to explore mint sets and learn more about the broader world of numismatics. Over time, the 1987 D Roosevelt dime has become recognized as an essential date in the modern series. Its limited distribution, relatively low mintage, and strong collector demand ensure that it remains a notable entry in Roosevelt dime history. For collectors, These three coins illustrate how the story of a dime can extend far beyond its face value. From silver-era craftsmanship to modern minting mistakes and special distribution strategies, the Roosevelt dime series continues to offer discoveries that excite both beginners and seasoned numismatists alike. And sometimes, the most remarkable treasures in coin collecting are hiding in the smallest denominations. If you enjoyed discovering hidden coin treasures, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the so you never miss a rare coin story again. Share your finds in the comments. You might be the next collector with a hidden fortune. See you in the next treasure hunt on Coins Numismatic series.